my channel, Kazzie here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my bookish pet peeves. Now we all have pet peeves about books. Let's face it, there are things that everybody likes about a certain book, there are certain things that people don't like about that same book, and that's fine. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of the pet peeves that I have about books. Number one is when an author overuses the character's full name. Now, what I mean by that is there are characters in a book, right? And they're the only character with that name throughout the book. For example, in Harry Potter, Harry's the only one with that name. Hermione is the only one with Hermione Granger. Neville is the only one called Neville Longbottom. Seamus, he's the only one with that name. But throughout the book, J.K. Rowling uses their entire names. Neville Longbottom, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley, Luna Lovegood. She uses their entire name when it's completely superfluous. Just use their first name. Yes, it's fair when a teacher is using their name and they're talking to them, but when it's Neville Longbottom said, or said Neville Longbottom, cried Neville Longbottom, Neville Longbottom was in the library. I know who Neville Longbottom is. I don't need to know it's Neville Longbottom doing it. Just say it's Neville. That's all I'm asking. Just Neville. I also noticed that when I was reading A Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, they use their entire names all the time. I don't know whether it's a Russian thing that they do where they're like saying their entire names. I'm not going to like attempt to say one of their names because it's Russian. I don't speak Russian. I can't pronounce Russian. And I can't off the top of my head remember one of their surnames. But say it's like Lena Petrovna, just for an example of a name. It's mentioned every time somebody freaking talks to them. They say their full name. And they've already like started like a 15-minute conversation with them and then they're still throwing their surname in. I don't know whether or not that's a thing that the Russians do when they're talking to somebody, but for me it's just a way to get to your word count. I hate it. A Song of Ice and Fire, on the other hand, where you need the surname to be more specific, that I can understand, where there are about 500 people called Ares, Daenerys, Arya, Bran, whatever. That works because there are multiple people with that name. Harry Potter, on the other hand, they're the only people with that name. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Number two is the reluctant hero trope. I am getting almost annoyed with it. And it's not that it's the whole reluctant hero thing. It's the part of that reluctant hero arc in that they're like, right, I'm gonna fight for this. Okay, no, you're pissing me off. Okay, I'm gonna fight for this. No, it's pissing me off. Okay, I'm gonna fight for this. No, I don't want that. I'm gonna fight for this. No, I don't want that. I'm gonna fight for this. That drives me completely doolally. There are times in books like that where they get fired up and I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's get on to the rest of the book. And then they find out a part of that they don't like, and then they're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then they shrink back. And then they find out something that they want to do again, and they get fired up. And then they find out something, and then they shrink back. That gets annoying about the fourth time that they try to do that, or the fourth book with that trope. Number three is the lack of detail. Now, I have a good imagination. It's not the best, but I have a good one. But I don't know this world like the author does. I don't have that exact image of this place that they've created in my head. So I need a little bit more detail. They know it's there, but the reader doesn't. Yes, they've read this book about 5 billion times in however many edits they've done of this book. This is me reading it for the first time. I don't know what you're on about. So I need that information. I don't know whether it was deleted in a draft where you need to get the word count down. I don't know. But it just annoys me when authors do that. Number four, pathetic male leads. Now, I don't know about you guys, but male leads where they are just like, oh, come with me, I will make your dreams come true. But it's okay if you don't want to. Don't take her, take me. That's another trope that I'm over. Just like some male leads, they're just wimps. I can't think of any for like a very strong example of this, but there's some male leads that I just want to smack because they are useless. Just give me like a half decent male lead. And there's also the opposite side, you know, pathetic female leads that just blush and cry all the time. I would just like a happy balance between the two. Okay, thank you. Number five is to do with the organization of books in bookstores. Now, I know all bookstores go by author's surname, but then within that author's surname bracket, then they put the books in alphabetical order. That does my head in. For me, it would be author's name and series in like publication order. I have seen Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, just for an example because it's right behind me. I have seen in the order of Hollow City, Library of Souls, and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because they've gone alphabetical within the series. No. Renee Adier, The Wrath and the Dawn duology. I have seen A Rose and a Dagger before A Wrath and the Dawn, whereas you read Wrath and the Dawn first, then A Rose and the Dagger. You know, that just annoys the crap out of me. I have been seen fixing bookshelves in bookstores. I'm not apologetic about it. Number 6 is when the first person narrator knows more than they should. For me, a first person narrator narrates what they see, not what anybody else is doing unless they have been told later on that this is what has happened. But it's too detailed, if you know what I mean. I have read a lot of books in the first person. Percy Jackson and the Olympians is in the first person. Shadow and Bone, the Grisha trilogy, is in first person. A Court of Thorns and Roses is in the first person. And all of these narrators only share what they see, hear, feel, or do. They don't know what anybody else is doing because they're not there to witness it, so they can't possibly share it, right? In The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, there are times when the first person narrator is sharing things that are too much. It's too much, you know, it's too detailed, yet she wasn't there to see it or know it. Like, there are times when she's talking about her great-grandmother and her grandmother and her mother and what they're doing and what they're feeling, and it's too detailed for me. I'm like, you shouldn't be describing that to me. It's too much. You wouldn't know that, and they wouldn't tell you that, even if they were talking to you about it. It doesn't make sense, and it just stops me from being fully immersed in that narrative because I know that wall has been broken. And does that make sense? And finally, number 7 of the pet peeves that I can actually think of is when in a book you have a character title at the top. Okay, let's just say, for example, in the Heroes of Olympus series, you have the characters at the top, character-specific chapters. For example, you have Annabeth, Percy, Jason chapters, okay? But in the first 2 books, these 3 characters are all together. They never get separated. For me, that's very pointless to have character-specific chapters when they're all together. Why not just do a third-person narrative, which is what it's in anyway, but without the specific chapters? But before you bite my head off, when you get further into the series, then it makes sense. But just when it's at the start of it, it just doesn't make sense. But then once I got into the Mark of Athena, then it made sense. It's just when it doesn't make sense at that point. And the same with the Song on Ice and Fire. It makes sense to have character-specific chapters throughout the books because then they get all spread out across Westeros. It was just that little niggling point of it when I first started reading it. I was just like, why is this here? What is the point of this? They're all together anyway. But then once I got into the Mark of Athena, then it made sense. But it's still on the list. So there you have it, guys. My 7 pet peeves for books that I have at the moment. These are the 7 that I can think of. I'm sure, like, maybe about a year down the line, I might have another 7. Who knows? Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below what your pet peeves are when it comes to books or bookish related things, you know, like the organization in bookstores. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!